so it's Damien from Marketing Food Online. So in this video, I'm actually going to cover the 7 steps to correctly price your food product. Now, you may not realize it, but pricing a food product for e-commerce sales is much different than selling it either wholesale or local retailers, and even different if you're selling it through Cottage Food Laws locally at farmers markets. I'm going to give you those 7 tips on how to properly price it to ensure you are profitable. And we're going to jump into those 7 right now. All right, this is Damien from Marketing Food Online. So as I mentioned back in the introduction, I'm gonna give you the 7 different factors you really need to consider when you start to price a food product if you're looking to sell it online. So if you happen to be interested in eBay or happen to be Etsy or Amazon or even Shopify, having your own website, there are some fees that you may not know of or maybe remember that you actually have to pay, and they come out normally every single month and even on top of every single transaction. But before we do, as always, this is Marketing Food Online. I'm Damien Roberti, founder and CEO of Marketing Food Online. My wife and I, Sylvia, own and operate 6 e-commerce businesses. We've been doing it for over a decade now, and we bring you guys YouTube videos to help you understand the world of food business and specifically food e-commerce even. So if you're not subscribed, definitely hit that little red subscription button. We've got over 800 plus videos, and we're uploading videos every single week. So let's jump into it just like I do with all my videos. I don't want to waste your time, and I definitely don't want to waste my time. So let's get right to it. Number 1, you've got to keep in mind, of course, when you are figuring out your price points, you want to make sure you know how much your packaging costs. Packaging is actually, of course, the first and foremost when it comes to selling a product either by unit or even in a bundle. And I'm going to jump into the bundle thing in a couple seconds to help you understand how you can make even more money through the process of bundling a product. So number 1, the packaging. Now, that could be your plastic bag, it could be a spice bottle, it could be a plastic bottle, could be even a glass jar. It really doesn't matter what it is, but the packaging, you need to find a really good supplier that you can get that specific type of packaging for your food product at the lowest possible cost. Of course, without sacrificing the quality of the packaging as well, because believe it or not, yes, there are some really cheap packaging out there that are not good for food packaging. So you definitely want to find a good supplier. And really quick to throw a little plug in, down below, if you actually check there's a link in the description section that's actually gonna take you over to a blog. I have a list of all kinds of different suppliers for plastic bags, spice jars and such. So I put a handful of suppliers together. Of course, it's not an all-inclusive list of thousands of them, but there's a few dozen different ones there. You might wanna check out that blog post and see if one of those suppliers would be somebody you can work with. So number 1, figure out your cost for your packaging. Number 2, your labels. Now, this is something where you can save a ton of money, and I'm gonna explain why. If you print your own labels, and you check out some of our videos that we did on onlinelabels.com, they have some fantastic software that allow you to print your own labels. We've been doing this, as I mentioned, for 12 years. We've actually been using online labels for probably 8 to 9 years of that 12 years. And we still, within our facility, we make and go ahead and print up our labels as we need them, which is also a really good way to save money, because many times if you have a professional printer make the labels for you, number 1, they're going to be more expensive. Between 30 to 40 cents is the average that I've noticed over the past 12 years. I've priced it out and even tried to look into having some people print for us, but the price was just way too much. Plus, the minimums are really outrageous. I mean, if you're looking to get 500 or 1,000 labels printed of the same thing, but you really don't need 500 to 1,000 labels, look what you're doing. You're actually tying up money in all of those labels without even using them. So print the labels as you go, but also try to find the best price pointed label for your product. Online Labels is great because also they've got nearly 5,000, I think 5,000 or 6,000 different labels with different shapes, different textures, and different finishes. So they are definitely a great source to get labels when you're first starting, okay? Now, if you're looking to create custom packaging right off the bat, I personally would say don't do it until you've actually got a good amount of cash flow going, or you've established your business and you've started to generate a lot of sales, because by purchasing those pre-made, yes, they look professional, they're great, but if you don't have the budget for it, and many food businesses start off on obviously a shoestring budget, make sure that you don't put out the kind of money out front initially if you don't have a call for your product yet. So if you don't have an outlet, you don't have your e-commerce business up and running, you're generating sales, I personally would not put hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars in a professionally looking bag, which you can really make your fantastic looking product even if it happens to be a spice jar and such, you can find really great labels that you can actually print within your own facility and do it yourself. So labels is number 2. Number 3 is your ingredients. This is something that you need to definitely do some research on. If you happen to be creating a spice blend, let's say, this is one of the most popular topics that I get my consultations for when I do my consulting is spice businesses. So trying to find the right supplier for your spices is definitely ultra important. And before you start factoring the price out for the individual unit of your product, you want to find the best suppliers with, of course, the best price points, and always keep in mind the shipping. When you buy an ingredient, it is not just the cost of the ingredient itself, it's the cost of the ingredient plus the shipping. So if you buy a $100 order of spices and you've got $50 worth of shipping, you didn't pay $100 for your spices, you paid $150 for them, okay? So breaking down the individual price point and how you're going to resell these products on e-commerce, that's really crucially important that you understand all the parameters with everything that you're buying. Number 4, this is going to be a really unique one, especially when you're first starting. Many food entrepreneurs start their own businesses by themselves. They don't have a huge staff of people or a bunch of employees. That's understandable. So labor is something you need to think about. But what I always did when I first started out, when we of course had an Italian bakery and such, I just wanted to get the wheels rolling. I wanted our business to create some money and cash flow. So I kind of went with what the market was dictating for certain products. Now, sometimes, of course, because of the cost of the ingredients and such labor for us, it was really difficult to kind of figure out what our margins would be, only because at that point we weren't factoring much of the labor in because my wife and I weren't paying ourselves at the time. But down the road, keep in mind, if you bring on an employee and you're paying them, you want to make sure that you calculate how much you're paying them based on how much they're putting out for you as far as the production. So think about the labor. If you create, for an example, if you created 400 bags or 400 bottles of spices or 400 items, and it costs X amount of money to have an employee there, you want to break that out over each unit and figure out how much am I paying this person to help me produce this quantity, okay? So then from there, you can really dictate what your costs are going to be. That way you can make the right retail price point, okay? So number 5 is kitchen space. Now, what do I mean by kitchen space? Well, if you're using a commercial kitchen or if you're renting any kind of space that you have to physically go there, bring your ingredients and your product, create a finalized product, but you're renting the kitchen too on top of maybe potentially even labor, the kitchen space itself, the commercial kitchen you're renting, whatever the amount of money you're putting out for that, that's also a cost. And you need to figure out how much product you can put out in a certain period of time when you're renting that space. So keep that in mind, that the commercial kitchen space itself. Now, if you're at home, this is kind of a little different thing. It's a little more challenging trying to figure out the actual cost because you're in your own kitchen, obviously. So if you're doing a cottage food type of business, or if you're doing a business that's maybe even out of your home that you even have the ability to sell online, that's much different. So you may not necessarily have to factor in the kitchen space because you're not being charged for that, okay? Now, number 6 is going to be selling online. Now, what I mean by this is that many of these platforms, if it's Etsy, eBay, Amazon, Shopify, they're going to have fees. Now, for instance, let's say eBay and Etsy, you're going to have a listing fee. Those are fees that when you create a listing to sell a particular product, you're going to get charged just for the listing itself. Now, eBay and Etsy have a couple of different programs where you can get a monthly subscription for that type of e-commerce platform, and they don't charge you up for a certain amount of listings, okay? And that's a whole other video I'll get into later about breaking down those fees. But the listing fees you may have for Etsy, eBay, and then of course at Amazon, we actually get charged $39.99 a month for the actual fee, the listing of the store. But we don't have listing fees, they take a seller fee. So listing fees is one. Next up is the selling fee. So on eBay, for instance, if you sell a 2 dozen cookies, for instance, you actually would get charged a selling fee for that amount that they would charge you for that. Also, on top of that, if you charge shipping, some platforms like even Etsy, if you charge someone $5, $6, $7, $8, they'll take a percentage of the shipping fee. Okay, so these are 3 fees you need to really be considerate about and understand that that is also part of your pricing strategy when you start to price a product to sell online. Now, the next one up is actually going to be number 7. This is going to be shipping costs. That is what you're either going to charge the customer to ship the product from you to them, or you're going to give them free shipping, or are you going to give them a partial shipping fee? Now, a lot of people aren't really familiar with what is a partial shipping fee. Now, on our store on Amazon, we actually give all of the products free shipping because we've tacked in a portion of the shipping into the retail price point of our product. So for instance, it costs us $10 to ship an item from us. we'll put $5 of that into what we actually charge the customer, and the other $5 we actually end up just taking as a part of the fee as far as selling it on Amazon. So what that does is that entices people to buy because it says quote unquote free shipping. Now on eBay, we actually offer some products at a discounted shipping rate. So again, if it costs us $10, I may charge them $8 instead, and maybe $2 of that I'll absorb myself into our price point, and that's fine. I'm still profitable with that particular product. I'm still making money. Or you can just simply give them free shipping. So if you have a price point for your retail item and you're selling it on eBay, and let's say it costs you $10 to make and you're selling it for $20, but you're giving free shipping and you're still profitable, of course you have to determine that whatever your price point may be, you have the ability to make money from that, but it's really enticing. When customers see a product online that says free shipping, it's a psychological thing for a shopper, for a consumer. They see that, they're gonna be more enticed to actually buy that product because it says free shipping, okay? So, with that being said, it's those 7 things that you really need to be aware of when you start to figure out what does it really cost me to make this item and what can I really sell it for, okay? So to tell you that there is a specific type of formula that's really gonna work for all of them, there's not. You need to know what the platform is that you're selling on, even on Shopify. So if you're selling food on Shopify, for instance, and you created your own Shopify store, that's great, but guess what? There are fees involved with having them obviously have a platform where you have your website on there. The hosting fee each month, they're gonna charge you for that. And if you have any other additional apps or any other different features that you've actually integrated to your Shopify store, that is also going to be potentially fees that you have to think of too. We have several Shopify stores. One of them costs us almost $100 a month just in certain fees that we've got attached to it. So that website has to obviously do at least $100 a month so I can break even. It does more than that, of course, but you have to understand these are all kinds of fees that go into the factors when you start to create your price point, okay? So think about that, write that down. If you have any questions about this on anything else that comes to mind, let us know down in the comments. We'll try to get on those comments as soon as possible. But check out the link down below in the description that has a handful of different suppliers that we try to help out if that can kind of steer you in the right direction, help you with spice bottles or maybe plastic bottles or boxes that you need. Check those out as well. We'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching Marketing Food Online. And if you are looking to create your own food truck, start a home-based food business under the Cottage Food Law, franchise a food operation, start a packaged food business, private label your own food product, sell on Amazon, get your own online store, or sell food online, remember to subscribe and check out these videos for more resources. Take care.